What the fuck is up, Juggalos? This is the Murder Mayhem Show. I'm the host, Mitchell, and today's top story, Fearless Fred Fury. Again, yes, I already talked about Fearless Fred Fury the day after it came out. Did a pretty thorough track-by-track breakdown. So, if you haven't checked that out yet, maybe you want to go and hear what I had to say about that. I put that up on Saturday. But something as big as this, something as massive as the fourth Joker's card of the second deck deserves very thorough, very introspective, if that is the right word, look. So 1 week just isn't enough. Here I am a week later, and sometimes thoughts evolve, sometimes thoughts mutate, transform the more you listen to the shit. I've been listening to this shit like fucking crazy over and over again, repeatedly. From top to bottom, probably about 5 full times now, but also just different tracks here and there, whatever I'm in the mood to listen to in the car and whatnot. So I've been just fucking getting into the shit, and I still love it, man. It's so awesome. Great stuff. Best concept of this deck, for sure. It's so great. In fact, not only that, I like it way more than I did the first time, and I liked it a lot the first time. I really did. I'm not generally one of these types of people who say that something needed to grow on them. In fact, a lot of times when someone says that something had to grow on them, I always kind of give it the cockeye, because that almost sounds like a cop-out, like you didn't actually like the thing, but you forced yourself to like it. If something has to grow on you, it's probably not as good as something that was just great from the start. So I'm definitely not saying that by any means. I thought the shit was awesome right out the box. Now I think it's even more awesome. And I had a few thoughts that deviated from my first go-around, though. So I kind of wanted to go through again and single out some of the tracks and give them another mention. Like, let's see here. Definitely the track Low. That was one that the first time around I said here on the Murder Mayhem Show that I thought was one of the weaker tracks on the whole album. In fact, I said it may even be the weakest track on the album, along with WTF, which I still really don't love that much. But Low is pretty awesome. The thing that I think struck me the first few times that I heard it was that massive beat switch up. Like, it starts out with that sample for, most of the song, and then it switches up totally, and then Shaggy does his part. And I think the first few times that I listened to it, it caught me so off guard that it was a bit of a distraction. But now that I know it's coming, I'm used to it, and I can enjoy the song thoroughly from start to finish. I'm not really sure why they did that. It still seems like a weird move to me, but it by no means takes away from the song, if you ask me. Maybe they tried it without that switch up and it just wasn't working for them. It's hard for me to gauge since I've only heard it the way it is on the album, but maybe on their end they were trying to make it work and it wasn't working without it. So I don't know. I would actually like to ask whoever produced that track or ICP why they did that. But either way, I like that song a lot now. I for sure don't think it's the weakest on the album anymore. I guess I'll reserve that back to WTF, but Low, pretty awesome. I would give that one a big fat thumbs up now, so I definitely wanted to get in there and address that. The other big one that jumped up a lot for me over the last week was Hothead, track number 13. That shit rocks. I said last week that it was forgettable. I said that I had no opinion on it, good or bad, because I had a hard time even just paying attention to it. I even said at the time, like, that's not a diss, it's just an acknowledgement that I need to listen to it, like, closely and actually pay attention before I can draw a conclusion. And now I've heard it enough times to where I can enthusiastically say that that song rocks. And I think that that's probably going to be the one that, in my opinion, goes underrated. Because I haven't heard anybody mention it. I've been on Twitter like fucking crazy, just keeping an eye on what everybody has to say. Now, I admit I haven't fully checked out the other Juggalo YouTubers' reviews, like the in-depth reviews, the deep dives. I haven't really looked at those. I am interested to hear them, but I really like to thoroughly form my own opinions before I start getting into other people's deep dives. Like, Twitter is one thing because people say, you know, this track was good, this track wasn't good, so on and so forth. But before I really get into those deep dives, like I saw CPN had one. I'm sure everybody has one by now. But Hothead, not getting a lot of love on social media. Just not even people saying it sucks. They're just not talking about it, like not singling it out as a great one. And I think it's a great one. In fact, Hothead to me sounds the most like something you would hear on Hell's Pit than any other track on the CD. Like, every song on the CD sounds drastically different from anything that we've ever heard from ICP before. I said that last week. I still stick by that. But if there was one track that you had to pick and say, this one actually sounds like kind of a throwback, it would be Hothead. That flow is so weird. It totally seems like the type of weird flow that Jay would have done back in maybe a Terror Wheel type of style. Yeah, I mean, that's going way back even. But, like, just imagine that same flow, but, like, the old school Violent J voice, the high-pitched voice. And that would totally seem like an old school track if you ask me. But I like the lyrics. They're fucking weird as hell. I like the hook. It's good. So, yeah, Hothead. I like that one a lot. I'm definitely bumping that one up big time from what I said last week. So, I wanted to single out those especially, but man, I'm just loving every track more and more the more I hear them. Even WTF, I like it more now that I can hear it in the context of the full album. Like, it even sounds a little bit different. Like, Fury, we know they switched up a little bit. WTF, they definitely switched up some of the sequencing a little bit. But even the mix, it just sounds like cleaner. And that was even something that Devereaux brought up to me several weeks ago before Fred Fury came out. We were talking a little bit. I don't remember if that was part of the interview or if that was after I stopped recording. But he mentioned that he thought that when he downloaded the iTunes version of WTF that it just sounded cleaner than what they had put out before. I didn't know anything about that, but on the CD it sounds better in my opinion. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe it's all in my head, but other people were saying the same thing, so could be. But it fits, it works, it fits on the album. So but still probably the weakest if you ask me. The other weakest one I'm gonna say is Shimmer. I really just have no desire to choose that track. I'll gladly listen to it when I'm doing a start to finish run through. Then there's no track on here that makes me say, oh damn, not this one again. Like Missing Link, I had more than one of those that I would be listening from top to bottom and I'd say, oh man, now I got to get through this one. But there's no tracks like that on Fred Fury. But I will say that I think Shimmer is one that's not for me at all. But man, I'm still loving all the other tracks. It's been nice to be into the part of the conversation on Twitter because I was staying off Twitter like 3 days before the album came out because I didn't want spoilers and shit. So I didn't really know what people were saying, people that had leaked it. But seeing a lot of interesting thoughts. There's a lot of speculations as to the name of the fifth Joker's card. You know, people are all over that. It had been said before it was released that the name of the next Joker's card of this deck is mentioned 8 times on Fearless Fred Fury. Now, a lot of people are saying that Brother has something to do with it. I even said that myself on my post Fred Fury breakdown episode, but call me crazy, but after having listened to the album as many times as I have, I'm almost positive there's only 7 brothers on there. I wrote them down, but I'll try to do this off the top of my head so I don't have to reach for the paper. There's one on West Werner Ave on the closing skit with Willoughby Rags, brother. There's 4 on Low. There's 1, I think maybe on Shimmer. And then there's 1 at the very end of the whole album. It's the very last thing you hear on the whole album. So I think there's only 7. I could have miscounted. They could have miscounted. Either way, I would definitely still say that Brother has something to do with it. Someone on Twitter said maybe it was a 3rd Jekyll brother. That's a fucking mind-blowing idea. I'm not saying it's the best or worst idea, that's what I want or don't want. I mean, anything could or couldn't work, but that never even entered my mind. That's a pretty wild idea. I mentioned last week that I thought Bloody Brothers might have something to do with it because it had been mentioned at the ICP seminar at the gathering that the Bloody Brothers was coming back. I don't know. That's still one of my own personal guesses. I have a brand new guess, though. Yes, brand new guess. I think maybe I might be getting closer. It was something that occurred to me while I was listening to Flip the Rat, and I'm wondering if maybe it has something to do with the concept of Big Brother. Big Brother, the idea that we're being watched, Usually it's in terms of, like, the government or whoever, or anyone, really. I mean, Facebook, Big Brother, anyone that's watching what you're doing. But if you listen to Flip the Rat, specifically the song Hawking is when that occurred to me, but also just say it seems like something that Violent J has been more and more interested in general anyway. Like, he was on the Juggalo show before Fearless Fred Fury came out, and he was talking all about what I would call conspiracy shit. That might offend anyone that believes all that stuff to call it conspiracy shit, but point is, he's way deep in the weeds with that type of stuff. So I don't know if he feels that strongly about all that type of stuff, then yeah, maybe Big Brother has something to do with it. I don't know. I think that's something that I haven't seen mentioned yet. It was something that just popped in my own head while listening to Flip the Rat. So basically, 1 week later, Fearless Fred Fury, still so fucking awesome. Love it. Great stuff. Thank you again to ICP for putting that shit out. It has definitely made an impact on my life. People seem to be enjoying it from what I can tell, so good stuff. Now, speaking of Flip the Rat, last week I kind of wrote off Flip the Rat a little bit. I said that it was all right, not as good as Fred Fury. I'd seen a lot of people saying it was better than Fred Fury. That seemed crazy to me, but I listened to it a little more closely over the last 7 days. Anytime that I wasn't listening to Fred, I was trying to get a flip in. So I've listened to that more and more. I got to say, I still mostly stick with my initial impression of that, but I will give some extra credit to a few tracks here. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the other tracks, even the ones that I wasn't digging so much, just because I didn't really talk about it at all last time. Okay, the intro, there's not really much meat on the bone there. See, Shaggy had mentioned specifically in some interview recently that it was before Flip the Rat came out, before Fred Fury came out, that Flip the Rat was its own album. It wasn't just B-sides or cut tracks from Fred Fury, but it really feels that way. That's how Flip the Rat feels to me. And part of the reason is that you don't ever get like a great explanation as to who Flip the Rat is. They kind of cover it a little bit on Fearless Fred Fury a little bit, but you might think that an album called Flip the Rat, you might think that his own album, Flip's own album, would do a little bit of a deeper dive in there, maybe cover some of the stuff that wasn't talked about in Fred, but it really doesn't come up at all. Like, if this is its own album, how come we don't have a Flip the Rat title track? That would be the shit. Doesn't it seem like maybe that's missing? That would be cool. A Flip the Rat title track that really gets in there and talks about Flip. I think that's one of the pieces of garnish that is missing from the Flip the Rat album. The intro doesn't really tell you much at all, so take that for what it's worth. Track 2. Oh, I should get into the producer credits and shit on this too. That intro was music by Dr. Punch, which is Violent J. So, track 2, A Face for Fighting. This track is pretty fat. I like it. I dig it. I dig it more than I did the first time. That's produced by Straight Jacket. Pretty much just a get hype kind of a track. Not even really, not even like high energy get hype, but just like get hype for fucking taking your life back. But it's just more Fred Fury type stuff. There's nothing distinctly Flip the Rat about this, but it's a good track. I dig it. Next track, Fight Back, produced by I'm going to get into the music credits for that too. That was music by Straight Jacket. I might have said that, or maybe not. Track 3, Fight Back. This track is pretty fat, and this is produced by DJ Paul. Something that kind of distracted me the first time was that it says featuring DJ Paul. So I was expecting a DJ Paul verse, which would have been awesome, but you really just hear him on that hook. And the hook is very simple, but it's very DJ Paul, so he fucking knows how to school those types of hooks. And another interesting thing about that is I had mentioned, I think right after WTF came out, some time ago, like well before the album came out, I said that DJ Paul might even be a good producer to do an entire Joker's card. And it was kind of a novel idea, but I wasn't expecting him to have a track on either of these albums. So it's kind of interesting with Fight Back, track 3 on Flip the Rat. You get kind of a taste of what that might have been like. And it's not bad. It's good. So if you think that Fight Back is a good track, then that means that I was right and that DJ Paul would have been a good producer for a Joker's card. And I'm assuming that if DJ Paul were to do an entire Joker's card, he would have more than just that type of beat on there. That's like a classic. This is such a DJ Paul beat. If you fuck with DJ Paul at all, you know this is like right in his wheelhouse. Like this isn't like, hey DJ Paul, why don't you give us something a little bit different? This is like, hey DJ Paul, why don't you give us some of that DJ Paul shit? And it goes hard. I like it. And you got to imagine if he were doing an entire album, he'd probably mix it up a little bit more because he does have a lot of range. He doesn't just do that type of shit. He has a lot of range as well, especially going into the 3-6 Mafia stuff. You hear a lot of variety. Granted, those are also produced by GCJ as well, but I digress. That's track 3, Fight Back by DJ Paul. Track 4, Revenge. See, this is one that I would throw into the forgettable pile. And the most memorable thing about this track is that Violent J is doing the Sleepwalker flow. Kind of a weird choice, but I like it. I like that he was doing that throwback in there. I'm sure it was intentional. There's no way he could have accidentally stumbled upon that same flow twice. So it's a pretty good track. It's solid, but it's just forgettable if you ask me. Mike P did that track. And by the way, forgettable is a step above suck. So I'm not even trashing the shit when I say it's forgettable. If something's forgettable, that means it's baseline a 5. It's no lower than a 5. So I'm not even trashing the shit. I'm just saying it's not Fearless Fred Fury worthy if you ask me. Number 5, I'm That Type. This shit is fat. This is like talking about something that Violent J has been talking about in interviews a lot, actually, which is that a lot of juggalos or just like they like to rep scrub, but they're using it as a cop-out, like a cop-out to not try to do their best at shit. Violent J has been talking about this a lot over the last few years, so this whole song is like, I'm the type of scrub that's the shit. You're the type of scrub that's a piece of shit. That's not an exact lyric, but if you listen to the song, you'll see that that's how it's like. And Ouija Mac does a featured verse on here, and he fucking kills the shit. But it does kind of a weird beat switch up whenever Ouija comes in, which always feels weird to me for a featured guest. It makes it feel to me like the featured guest was just tacked on. I mean, the whole song is fitting a format. I'm the type of scrub, blah, blah, blah. You're the type of scrub, blah, blah, blah. So to me, it feels like the featured guest should fit in with the format, not have to drastically change the music up just to make him fit. But having said that, Ouija Mac kills his verse, crushes it. Classic Ouija Mac, good stuff. So it doesn't hurt the song by any means. But again, it's probably one of those things that I wasn't expecting on first listen that distracted me. But I do like that song a lot. That's I'm That Type, produced by Seven. Next track, Hungry for That Cheese and Bread. I think I singled this out last time as being a song that I really liked on the album, and I stick with it. I still think that it's the best song on the album for me, in my opinion. I like it. I like the whole premise, metaphor, food as money. There's a lot of food as money puns in there, and the flows are good. The beat is awesome. I really like the beat a lot. The hook, I think it probably turned some people off, but one of my favorite things is when Violent J sings off-key on purpose, which is what it sounds like we're dealing with here. I saw you Making cheese and bread. I like it a lot. I dig it. And Hoodoo's fucking guest verse on there fucking kills it. Man, good stuff. So that's track number 6. Hungry, produced by Kuma. Still my favorite on Flip the Rat, even after a week. Next track, Splish Splash. Still stupid. I said it last week. Stupid song. Which is a shame because I like the beat a lot. That's produced by Devereaux. And I like that beat. I just wish that it would have said something a little more of substance to Violent J, because it's just a stupid song. You're gonna write a song about taking a bath. It's stupid. It's kind of it's the sex song pretty much on Flip the Rat. It's pretty much talking about like, I'm gonna clean you up good before we fuck, but it's just dumb. So I still like it because I like that beat. So thanks, Devereaux. You came through and made a pretty you made a beat that was good enough to sustain this stupid lyrical concept. That's track number 7, Splish Splash, produced by Devereaux. Number 8, Friend Request. I singled this one out last week as well as Hungry as being one that I like. And I still like the beat a lot. The verses are great. If you ask me, they're funny. I've always kind of been partial to the funny tracks from ICP, so I like the verses a lot. That hook kind of kills it for me, sadly. So, that kind of takes what could have been a much better song and knocks it down a point or two for me. I get that the hook is intentionally childish sounding, like that's part of the joke of the song, but I didn't love it. I don't really like the beat switch up either when it changes and there's a whole verse in there that kind of does its own thing. But that beat is awesome, and the beat is produced by Violent J, so that's pretty cool. I wouldn't mind hearing another EP or even a whole LP just produced by ICP, which we have only seen in The Calm. And I think The Calm has really awesome beats on it. I have other problems with The Calm. I don't really like a lot of the songs on that for other reasons, but one thing that I do like about every track on The Calm are the beats. So I like that ICP are still developing their production skills, because I like that beat a lot on Friend Request. It's kind of a silly one, but it sounds like ICP. Sounds right in their wheelhouse. So that's track 8, Friend Request, produced by Violent J. Track number 9, I Could Never. All right, I'm just tired of hearing about God, which is probably a bad sign for me, because I know that that's never going to stop in ICP's music. And sometimes it's done great. Sometimes it's done in a way that's like, all right, I get it. I don't want to hear it. This falls into that category. And even just his whole conception of God as like, man, it's got to be hard to be God. No, it doesn't. So even that track just kind of annoys me to listen to anyway. So that's not a great one for me, if you ask me. That's track number 9, I Could Never, produced by Devereaux. So that's interesting. Now in the Devereaux ICP catalog, he has I Can't and I Could Never. It's very negative, but good stuff. The beat is good stuff. Number 10, Hawking. I have a lot of thoughts about this track. I don't even really want to get into them all, but this song actually kind of pisses me off. Like, I hope that this song is just from the perspective of a paranoid fantasy and they don't actually believe everything in the song, because there's some kind of fucked up stuff in there. And if they really believe everything that they're saying in the song, then somebody needs to set them straight on some things. And if they don't believe everything they're saying in the song, they're kind of playing a dangerous game, because there's not enough of an indicator that it's a satire, if that's what it is. So people might actually listen to that and think that everything that they're saying in there is true, and it's definitely not. And some of it's kind of offensive. So, and I don't mean offensive the way that, like, every ICP song is offensive to somebody. This is like not stuff that you should be saying, if you ask me. So I don't really want to get into that, but if you know the song, then maybe you know what I'm talking about. Or maybe you agree with everything in the song, and if you do, I don't particularly want to hear from you about my thoughts on it. You go ahead. It's a free country, but I can already tell you that you're not going to convince me that everything in that song is true, if that's what your angle is going to be. That's number 10, Hawking, produced by 7. Number 11, The Dog. This is one that I see get singled out a lot on the internet as being the strongest on Flip the Rat. I think it all comes down to how you feel about that Alice in Chains sample, which, believe me, I was born in 1985. I was coming of age during that era. I love that song, the Alice in Chains song. I used to bump that shit on the radio all the time. I don't think it works in this track at all. That sample, it just comes in weird. Like I mentioned before on Hungry that I like Violent J singing off key on purpose. This is more of an example of Violent J singing off key, not on purpose. I don't think it works. It's weird. The verses are great. That's why it's kind of a shame. Like, I like the beat and the verses a lot, but I still can't really get into the song because I think that hook kind of kills it. So, I don't know. The hook seems to be the part that people are liking about it the most, though. So, maybe that's on me. Maybe I'm the crazy one. What's funny is the very first time I heard it, the day that I got the CD, for like a split second there, I thought it was a sample of the Dog the Bounty Hunter theme song, which, if you don't know what that sounds like, look it up because you'll see where I'm coming from. Of course, the Alice in Chains clicked right away. I got it pretty quickly, but at very first, when it says, I'm the dog, it kind of is reminiscent of the Dog the Bounty Hunter theme song, which would be a very unexpected choice of sample from them, but no. That is track number 11, The Dog. Music by Seven, Dr. Punch, and Straight Jacket. So, which makes sense that there's 3 producers on there because the beat goes through a lot of switch-ups. Number 12, Be Safe. Okay. I don't like this song either, and that may or may not be a controversial statement because there are some great lines in the song. Of course, the shout-out to Cannibal. That's kind of a gut puncher, and that kind of makes the song worth it. The song is like 6 minutes long. It's almost entirely worth it just for that one little part of it. But overall, not that into it. I don't think the beat's good. I don't think the hook is good. Someone on Twitter said that they thought Be Safe would be a better closer on Fearless Fred Fury than I Like It Rough. Definitely disagreeing with that in a big way because that shit would not fit on Fred Fury at all, if you ask me. It's way too upbeat. And, I mean, Flip the Rat is kind of just all over the place. It doesn't have a cohesive sound to it at all. So, fits better on Flip the Rat than Fearless Fred Fury, but Fearless Fred Fury kind of pushes it on the positive songs as it is. There's maybe 3 soft songs on Fearless Fred Fury. You couldn't get away with a 4th, if you ask me, so Be Safe. Not loving it. Not loving it on Flip. I really wouldn't have liked it on Fearless Fred Fury. I think Fearless Fred Fury pretty much nails it on every track. And I stick by my assessment from last week, which is that there's no tracks on Flip the Rat that I think should have been on Fearless Fred Fury. Sticking with that. Let's play the what if game and say what if one of these tracks did have to be on Fearless Fred Fury for some reason. I would go with Fight Back, track number 3. That's a good one. Even the title of the song, Fight Back, kind of makes me think it maybe was intended for Fred Fury at one time, but I have no idea. It just sounds cool. Fight back, you don't want it with me. Classic DJ Paul. I think it would have been a lot better with a DJ Paul verse in there, just gotta say, but regardless. So that was my kind of next week's impressions of Fearless Fred Fury and Flip the Rat, now that I've had some time to really marinate on each of them. Alright, next up, ICP was on the No Jumper podcast, hosted by Adam22. Adam22, as a matter of fact, actually was a Juggalo at one time. He mentioned that on his interview with Hobson. So he's actually the one that reached out to them. I saw it on Twitter whenever the release party in LA was announced, the one that ICP was going to be at. He put it out there on Twitter himself, like, hey, can I get an interview? And shit went down. He did like an hour and a half with them, some shit like that. And it's a fine interview. If for someone like me that loves hearing the ICP story over and over again, I had no problems with it. But if you already know the ICP story, there's not really a heck of a lot of information in there, new information that you don't already know. So peep that out if you want to get the whole ICP origin story again. I'm positive at this point that I could tell the ICP origin story better than ICP can. They always get like weird little details wrong. It feels like it's like, damn, I wish they had someone like me sitting next to them just to chime in on things. Or maybe they'll give a fact and not explain it enough, and you can tell that the host misunderstood, but ICP doesn't pick up on it and they don't bother to clarify. Little nitpicks like that, little things I've observed over the years of watching ICP interviews. But, you know, if you're listening to me, you damn sure already know enough about ICP to understand what they're talking about when you hear them in interviews. So I would suggest checking that out if you want to hear another run through with the ICP story. Something that came up in there that I thought was kind of interesting was when they talked about new music. And Violent J said he was a big fan of Ray Shremmerd, which I don't know who the fuck Ray Shremmerd is. Put that on me. I'm sure they're fucking platinum selling bajillionaires. I know that as something of a music commentator myself, or trying to be, maybe I should be more up on the new shit and the new styles. No, I'm not, and I don't know shit about Ray Shremmerd. I don't know who they are. So whatever. Just one thing I'm not gonna do is front and be like, oh yeah, Ray Shremmerd. Of course I know who that is. No, I'm just keeping it honest. I don't know who the fuck half these new artists are. But point is, Violent J said he was a big fan of theirs, so I looked them up, and it's like not at all some shit that you would think that Violent J would be into just based on the music of ICP in general, especially the older music of ICP. It's like sappy, dripping with auto-tune. But the thought that popped into my mind while checking it out was that now the auto-tune on Nobody's Fault on Fearless Fred Fury makes a lot more sense. If that's the kind of music that Violent J likes, then now it's like more apparent that like, oh, that's the type of song he was trying to make, which I think Nobody's Fault is an awesome song. Even the auto-tune somehow works on the shit, and I like that song a lot. It is for sure one of the softest, I would say the softest track on all of Fred Fury. But if you know that that's the type of music that Violent J is into now, then it makes sense that they would slip a track like that in the mix. So that caught my ear. Shaggy kind of weighed in on the new shit that he's into now, really. But for the most part, just classic ICP, typical talk, stuff that we all know. But it's an hour and a half. I could listen to fucking ICP talk for an unlimited length of time. If they did a 14-hour interview, I would gladly listen to the whole damn thing. So peep that out if you want. That's ICP on the No Jumper Show. That went down on Fearless Fred Fury release day, I believe. The interview took place that day. Not sure if it went up that day or a little bit later, but peep that out. All right, something that I didn't have a chance to talk about last week was Shaggy 2 Dope's Fuck the Fuck Off Motherfucker tour. And I went to Shaggy's Fuck the Fuck Off Motherfucker tour in Dallas. It was the second to last date on the entire tour. That was February 13th in Dallas. Had to make a 4-hour trip down there. I didn't talk about it on the Murder Mayhem show because that was on February 13th, and then by the time I got back home, it was February 14th, early in the morning. And then by that late that night is when Fearless Fred Fury went up for streaming on all the streaming sites and stuff officially. So there wasn't really an opportunity to get in there with a fucking review of that. And now it just seems like kind of old news now that the whole tour is done and Fred Fury's already out and Juggalo Day is come and gone. Now the Fuck Off Motherfucker tour. It doesn't really seem like something people would be interested in still hearing about, but I had an awesome time. It was great. It was awesome. Shaggy fucking killed it. But the thing that I did want to make a special note of jumping in on and talking about here was that I did the VIP meet and greet with Shaggy, and it was awesome. He's such a fucking cool guy. Spent the whole time just fucking cracking me up, saying funny shit. But the thing that I wanted to bring up to you guys is that Shaggy remembered me, not necessarily for me, but because he said that I looked like Les Nessman. I didn't know who the fuck that was. he asked me, he said, "You ever watch the show WKRP in Cincinnati?" And I said, "It's a little bit before my time, but I'm aware of it." And he goes, "Look up Les Nessman. You look like that motherfucker." So as soon as the VIP was over, I fucking Googled it, and it's like, what do you guys think? I'm going to leave it up to you here. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the picture, the side-by-side comparison here. If you're listening on the podcast, Google Les Nessman or check out Murder Mayhem Show on YouTube and skip to this part. But, man, that shit fucking cracked me up when I saw that. And Scotty D was at that show as well, and I told him about that after I got out of the meet and greet, and I showed him the picture on my phone. He was like, "You do look like that guy." I was like, "Well, all right. I'll fucking own that shit." Hey, man, anything that gets and makes an impression on ICP about me, I'm fucking owning and running with. You bet your ass next time I see ICP at a meet and greet, I'm going to point to Shaggy and say, "Hey, Les Nessman, it's me." He recognized me right away, probably just for that reason. The fucked up part is that I don't even think he was talking about my podcast. If you look at the picture of Les Nessman, you'll see him sitting behind a microphone, not unlike the setup that I've got going right here. But I think he was just calling me a nerd, which is, hey man, fucking great. I'm not mad at it at all. Come on, what kind of a douche would get mad about that? You know what kind of a douche would walk out of that meet and greet and be like, "Man, Shaggy fucking picked on me. He said I look like this old nerd." No, please, come on. We're all juggalos here. We all know the deal. All of ICP's music is busting chops. You think I'm gonna get mad when it's my chops that are being busted? Come on, man. Shaggy's the shit. I fucking love Shaggy, and that's fucking hilarious to me. Les Nessman. I'm gonna be embracing that to the max. You can believe that. So I just thought that was funny. I wanted to bring that up. If there's any way I can incorporate Les Nessman into future Murder Mayhem Show, then you bet your ass I'm going to be using that every time I see them. So I just thought that was funny. I wanted to bring that up. And the show was fucking awesome. Like I said, Ouija was opener. He fucking crushed even more than he always does. He's getting better and better and better. You can see the growth. You really can. From his first psychopathic performance, which was at the Juggalo March, like right after getting signed pretty much, up to that Fuck the Fuck Off Motherfucker tour just a week ago, he's fucking growing and he's killing it more and more and more. So, and not only that, but Ouija, he had his own meet and greet thing going, but he had a whole package. I talked about it on the Murder Mayhem Show when it was announced, actually, like, damn, look at this weird shit in the Ouija Mac VIP package. I didn't end up buying that. I did the Shaggy one instead. But either way, point is this. Even though Ouija Mac had his own VIP meet and greet upgrade happening, he still took pictures and signed autographs for everyone for free all night long at his merch booth. And that's fucking awesome. That's the shit we need more of. That's why he's gonna fucking make it in a big way. He's paying his dues, taking the right steps that need to be taken. Ouija, fucking great, man. I love Ouija. I love him. Good stuff. His music is very well done. He's an awesome guy. He gets it. I say it all the time. I said it after the Ouija Mac and Light seminar at the gathering. I said that Ouija Mac is a genius. He gets it. I'm very perceptive because I stick by it. So awesome of a guy. So got to chop it up with him for a few seconds, you know, enough time to say what's up and whatnot. So definitely a shout out to Ouija Mac for doing that shit. But either way, great time. If you missed the Fuck the Fuck Off Motherfucker tour, you fucked up. So I definitely wanted to get that Les Nessman shout out into the mix. Let you guys make the final call on that, because that shit cracked me up. I can take it, man. You got to learn to fucking laugh when people are making fun of you. What am I supposed to do? Say, no, I'm not a nerd? Please, I know who I am. Fuck yeah. That's why I identify with ICP so much. So, come on. You got to take it. Not only that, but I actually talked to a handful of people after the meet and greet got out, and I actually heard a lot of the same type of stories of Shaggy busting on people, making fun of them, goofing around, you know, clowning. So, like, that's just Shaggy's personality, it would seem. You gotta fucking know how to take it. So, definitely had a great time that night. And finally, I want to close on this, a new segment on Murder Mayhem Show. Yes, this is brand new. I don't know what the fuck took me so long to think of this, but it was a great idea. And here we are. Murder Mayhem Show at the polls. Yes, I put up a poll on Twitter last week. You can do that. I asked what the best Psychopathics from Outer Space album is. And I got to talk about these fucking results. 107 votes. Final results are in. 36% said Psychopathics from Outer Space 1. 46% said Psychopathics from Outer Space 2. And 18% said Psychopathics from Outer Space 3. Man, I gotta say, I gotta weigh in now on my fucking opinion. And you know that everyone's fucking preferences are valid. I'm not here trying to shit on you if you picked wrong. But you picked wrong, America. Psychopathics from Outer Space 1. Please. Psychopathics from Outer Space 1 is a fucking 10 out of 10. Please. You're gonna... And Psychopathics from Outer Space 2 rocks. Alright? Good stuff. I definitely got some classic all-time bangers on there. But Psychopathics from Outer Space 1, you got Redneck Ho 99. You got Murder, Murder, Murder. You got The Dirtball. I'm trying to do this off the top of my head, which is never a good idea. But you've got... What else? Who the fuck knows? Point is, Psychopathics from Outer Space 1, man, all the way, 100%. That's what I would have voted for if you were allowed to vote in your own polls. And I thought it was going to be a blowout. Juggalo surprised me. I thought it was a stupid question. I thought Psychopathics from Outer Space 1 was going to run away with the shit. Not the case. Apparently I'm in the wrong. Psychopathics from Outer Space 2, according to these 107 voters, is the best of the series. I don't know. No. Come on. I'm going number one. So I thought that was fun. If you wanted to vote in the polls, then I'm putting up a new one this week. And this week's poll question on Twitter is, what is the best Joker's card of this deck? It's the question we're all talking about. I'm going to make it Murder Mayhem Show official and ask it myself. Talk about it next week. So go on my Twitter if you tweet and vote on that. I'll be tweeting that poll up. Just scroll down the feed until you find it if you like, but it'll be up there. So which Joker's card of this deck is the best? That will be this week's poll question. So on that note, I think that just about wraps it up. Got some Murder Mayhem Show notes. You know we always end on these. You can follow me on all the social media accounts: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Go to murdermayhemshow.com to get all of those links. And there's blogs, memes, videos, some remixes and shit on the YouTube channel. There's all type of shit. Just poke around. You'll find some good stuff. I want to tease something. Finally ready to tease something. I haven't announced this yet because I hate when people fucking announce things before they're ready to go. Drives me up the wall. So I wanted to wait until I was a little closer to getting there, but I'm going to be doing some live streaming, and I don't exactly have the times, the day and time locked down on that, but I'm definitely going to start integrating live streaming into the Murder Mayhem Show, so be on the lookout for that. And until next time.